right. Well, I was just telling
Nice to finally meet you, by the way.
Yeah, very, very nice to finally meet you. We're finally meeting online in
Yeah,
person, Will. So
yeah,
yeah, I was just telling my dozens of fans out there, we're going to be chatting jiu-jitsu and a little bit of
yeah.
music. Really excited to be meeting and chatting with tonight Brazilian jiu-jitsu purple belt under Rigan Machado and bass player for Nickelback, one of the biggest Canadian rock bands of all time, Mike Kroeger. Thanks for joining me tonight or today.
Hey, happy to be here.
Awesome.
It's afternoon for you. It's just afternoon for me.
Yeah, right on. Right on. So
Yeah,
yeah, we've been kind of chatting, following each other for probably almost a year or
yeah,
so. And yeah, you love jiu-jitsu. I see pictures of you on stage and at your concerts with jiu-jitsu shirts. Like,
yeah.
talk about how you got into Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Well, it's kind of it was kind of a one day when I lived on Maui, when I I went in to try CrossFit for the first time, and I did my first CrossFit class and just got smoked and just loved it. I got addicted to that, punishment and that, the violence of of that particular sort of field of exercise, which, and it's kind of a cult too, which is cool. And then after I finished the class, the my CrossFit coach said, "Hey, I'm going to a jiu-jitsu class. Do you want to come and join me?" At that time, I believe he was a purple belt, and and I was like, jiu-jitsu, what's that? I didn't know anything about that, And he took me basically across the street after I'd just been crushed in my first CrossFit workout, which is both mentally and physically punishing. And then directly stepped on the mat at the Carlson Gracie affiliate on Maui, and made a lifelong friend, Christian Grangi. He's the guy who runs and owns that Carlson Gracie affiliate, and he was my first master when I step on the mat. And from then, I've really just tried to keep up with it with my career. It's rather difficult with the amount of travel, which I'm now just starting to figure out how to actually bring that travel into more jujitsu experience and not less. It used to be sort of like I would go on the road and I would just put everything away and forget about it. Now I take mats and my uniforms, and I train backstage, and also drop into gyms around the world to study with people, and often I don't I don't like make an appointment or anything like that. You could just end up being in a class with me very, very easily, because I'll just show up places, and very, very strange and odd places. If you check out the Nickelback schedule, corresponding to that is my jiu-jitsu visiting gym schedule in those particular places. So you never know. But I don't really, nobody really knows who I am. When I get on the mat with them, I'm just another guy in the uniform, which is perfect. Just another neck to choke, and another set of limbs to try to break, or at least get a submission with. And I don't really tell people what I do, unless if they ask. I'll ask them what they do too. But it's a completely different environment, as Of course, you understand it. It's not about, it's a couple of sentences between drills and stuff. You don't I'm not getting interviewed on the mat.
Yeah.
It's more about the jiu-jitsu far more than anything else.
It's it's so cool too, because obviously jiu-jitsu is very different than it was like when it came to North America. It was so tribal. It still is tribal, as
Yeah.
in many ways. But you can go to different gyms and drop in different places. Like, if it was like, even when I started in 2007, you didn't really casually go and train at other gyms. So it's just cool to even have that option. I'm sure all the gyms, or most of the gyms that you go to, are probably pretty welcoming, like you said, even though they wouldn't necessarily know who you are.
Super cool. I mean, I do travel with an unmarked gi. Like, I don't wear patches or any kind of. It's just the Epic Roll logo, because I'm friends with the Epic Roll team of people, and they're my brothers, so I wear their equipment. But I don't show any kind of school affiliation or anything like that, because frankly, I train, yes, with Rigan Machado. I train also with Marcus Suarez. up in Canada, and I train with Hansel Gracie here in Los Angeles and in New York sometimes, and the Daniel Gracie team in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and it's just like with Faraz. I sure dropped in on Faraz and dropped in on Nelson Sobral in Toronto at Rain. So it's like whatever. It would be all patches or no patches, and I've decided it's going to be no patches. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because I'm not representing everybody. I'm representing nobody. I just want to learn, and it's so cool to get on. And the other day when I was training, I went to Marcus Suarez's gym before. On a day that he wasn't teaching, actually, he has a young student who's a blue belt who teaches on the days that Marcus does not teach, and at the end of the class, I've got my purple belt and he's got his blue belt, and he said, "So how was the class?" And I said, "Well, it was fantastic because all the techniques you taught me, I understand them, but all of them were executed differently than what I've been taught. So I just learned 6 new techniques from you today." And that's the reality of it, is we have to be a vessel willing to accept new information from everybody, regardless of the source, because there's so much to learn, and so many ways to do everything. I've luckily, because I live in Los Angeles now, I get on the mat with a lot of black belts. And I remember there was one class years ago that I'll never forget. It was a very small class at Rigan Machado's gym here, and it was me and 8 black belts. That's it. And I was a blue belt at the time, and I was like, holy shit, this is incredible. And I just learned so much. But the thing that was I think the most important thing I learned in that class was the one black belt was actually teaching and leading the class. And I remember he was teaching a technique, and the other guys were all like, "Oh, I've never seen that before." And I was like, "What? What do you mean you've never seen that before?" And they said, "Well, yeah, I've seen it. I understand this technique, but I've never seen it done quite like this." And that was when I realized that there's an infinite nature to this, and that there's an infinite number of ways to learn everything. That's, to me, I love that. And having trained with sometimes people, you know, in their 70s, you know, and learn from them something that they've been doing for 50 years, like Marcus Suarez, for instance, is a great
Yeah.
example. I mean, this guy taught classes with Higan in Rio, man. Like
He
he's
brought, people might not know Marcosaurus, he basically brought jiu-jitsu to Western Canada, right?
yes, I believe he's the only coral belt in the country,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. And so, yeah, anytime you can get to Langley, or they're building a new facility in Maple Ridge, and also they have a facility in Vancouver, get in there. Don't worry about the warm up; it's the worst thing that's ever going to happen to you. But that at Marcus Suarez, you pay in 2 ways. You pay money, which is cool, like you do everywhere, but you also pay in the warm up. That is the hardest warm up I've ever done. I've done warm ups in Rio and Sao Paulo, and I've done warm ups I've gone to ADCC in Abu Dhabi and trained there. That's the silver medal for warm ups. That was brutal. There was people puking on the mat on that one. That was cool. But Marcus's is far and away the most incredible warm up I've ever seen. You got to pay to take that class.
I feel like I can remember my coach, Kevin Taylor, telling me he did a Marcosaurus seminar and about this crazy warm up. And he was not the type of guy to enjoy those warm ups. So I remember him saying he was like off to the side, like half doing the jumping jacks, just trying to, kind of fade away in the corner.
Oh yeah, if you can and the thing is because you're circled up, there's nowhere to hide. Everybody's looking at everybody. So if you slack a little bit and you don't do your push-ups or whatever, the people beside you or across from you they're looking at you, man. They're watching you, and they're doing it, and some are and some aren't, based on whatever reasons. They might be injured or what have you. You can do it, but yeah, it's the reality, and he did share with me. He shared with me years ago. He said if you can't finish He goes, don't worry. He goes, look around. Nobody finishes. Nobody gets all the reps. No one. Like Marcus is counting the reps himself while everybody's doing this. And he told me, he's like, you don't make it. You don't. You try as hard as you can, and that's good. And I made a puddle of sweat in front of myself just in this is warm up, you know. But he said, don't worry about it. You just do as much as you can, work as hard as you can, and fight as hard as you can in the warm up. But and he said nobody wins. It's okay.
Yeah, and I see the value in that. Like personally, in my classes, I don't do any warm ups. I just jump right into technique. I enjoy doing that. But I do see the value in doing that and building some like mental toughness too, and especially for competitors and just in general. Like it's sometimes good to do that. Like for example, I gave a guy a blue belt in the morning class today, and I said, you know, for something special, I'm gonna make you do a Shark Tank. You got to roll with everyone in the morning class for 2 minutes. You know, he's a young, fit guy, so. You know, he was dead by the end of it, but I feel like that's going to be a memorable experience for him.
For sure.
You know, put him under some pressure, and he came out past with flying colors. So I think that's
see that, and that gauntlet that's special, man. Like I've witnessed that. I've been one of the sharks before, and actually, it's like one of the few times I've ever actually felt remorse for somebody on the mat because I was late, and I was fresh, and they had gone through 5, 6, 7, 8. Other rolling partners, and it's in those Shark Tank situations there's like an undercurrent of understanding, especially with the higher belts. You see the higher belts kind of take it easy, because they know, because they've been there, and they're like, okay, we can flow roll. The upper belts will flow roll with the Shark Tank guy, whereas the lower belts are just, especially the blues are just, they're attack, and that's but yeah, that's the physical training part is something that I have noticed that some schools really focus on, and others don't. It seems to be a preference of teachers and professors as themselves.
Yeah. And last thing with the Shark Tank too, I noticed, because it's interesting, like from me as a black belt coach's perspective, like, okay, for the Shark Tank today, I went last. I made him go through everyone, then I fought him at the end. But also I've done it before for guys that are competing. I've gone first. And one time I went against one of my tough students, and I really turned it up on him. Like he's competing. I thought, all right, this is going to be the time I'm really going to bring out the hammer. Yeah. And I think everyone was kind of shocked and kind of surprised. They were like, holy shit, Presley's really turning it up. But then it made them turn it up as well. So I feel like I set the bar, and then everyone else. So then I was like watching it, like kind of, oh shit, what have I done?
Yeah, you started the wood chipper. Whoops.
Yeah. So yeah, no, but yeah, you're really involved in the scene. I saw some pictures of you at it looked like a really cool event. I think it was in San Diego. Like it looked like Eddie Bravo and Jocko.
Oh, the subversive event. Yeah.
Talk about that event a little bit.
Well, I know the principals and some of the sponsors of the subversive promotion, and they have invited me to come down and just be a part. That's the second one I've been to, and I'm just becoming friends with all these people. I love that people are starting to try to make jiu-jitsu events spectator events where it's not just everybody in the whole audience is like a student, that trains. There's actual people who just want to come have a couple beers and see some athleticism and some skill. But that last subversive event in San Diego at the Hard Rock there, it was. I saw some grappling there that I just couldn't believe. Not to mention the fact that there was a dispute of the last match and everybody charged the mat, and I was sitting with all the 10th Planet guys, Eddie and all the 10th Planet guys, and it all kicked off, and then all hell was breaking loose, and I'm sitting on the couch, and I look around, I'm like, where the hell did everybody go? They're all gone, and I look, there's, okay. Eddie wisely left before the last match started because he wanted to beat the traffic home. So he missed all the trouble, but all the other guys were fully involved, and I was like, I'm not going. It's like, I'm sure you've seen it where it's just like it's almost like a rugby scrum, and except that every time a new person enters the rugby scrum, somebody punches them in the face, and I was just like, I'm not going in that stuff, because number one, I don't want to get punched in the face, and number two, if I hurt somebody, I might as well just sit down on the mat and start writing a check. It's going to be a court case, and no good.
But it looked looked amazing just from some of the pictures. It was at the Hard Rock
Fantastic.
Cafe. You know, that there was ADCC competitors in the event.
Yes.
The level of
Yes.
grappling was the highest in the sport.
Incredible level of performance. These people. It was spectacular. It was like jump up out of your seat kind of stuff happening. You know, the athleticism and the skill level of these people is tremendous. I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome that they're doing more of these events. So, okay, you mentioned that you drop in at different gyms when you're on tour, you know, according to schedule and stuff, and
Yeah.
you also will bring mats with you on tour. Talk about that situation. Is there someone that you train with? Does anyone else in the band train? Like, how does that
The other guys in the band don't train because they're normal.
work?
They're not like us, as you know, you could say. But I have dragged a couple of crew guys in just to sort of run kind of drills on self-defense kind of things. I think the next level for me now, you know, because what I've been doing is just getting on the mat and moving, you know, practicing rolls and getting everything, getting all my skills lined up and just moving on the mats, which I've really it's become really important to me to be able to get down on the mats and just move on the mats, whether it's with another person or not. And I may, you know, pick up a grappling dummy one of these days and start with that. And then the next level, as I was going to say, is doing kind of what Maynard from Tool does, which is he has mats backstage and he just has like a local affiliate black belt instructor come during the day and do a private with him. So I think I might start doing that.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Like,
Yeah,
great.
agreed. There's so much to learn from so many different minds.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. So, how do you decide like what to drill or what to work on when you're just kind of training like that? I always find like are you just kind of watching stuff on YouTube or like how do you decide what you're going to work on?
More so, I have an understanding of the different movements and the different roles and the different things I need to be able to do. And I also am really conscious of what my weaknesses are. And so I attack those. So like Granby rolls is just Granby rolls and Granby rolls and Granby rolls around the mat, around the mat, around the mat, because that's where I'm weak at those. You know, I'm not, and getting into those other kind of inverted positions is sort of the kind of stuff I've been kind of drilling by myself beyond you know regular kind of range of motion or different positional things you could do by yourself but more so yeah just identifying the weaknesses and attacking those and getting better at the things that you're not good at
Yeah,
just like you would try to do in a class if you could you know the best thing for everybody if they could design their own class would be to make a list of their deficiencies and just do that and so that's what I try to do is identify the things that I'm not good at or that I need work on and do them it totally sucks but you know that's always going to be
yeah, and if you're going to get someone that you know is really awesome at that Granby roll, good luck passing their guard, right?
yeah
Especially,
they're just going to do circles around you they're you know they're going to be on the back of your leg before you know it and yeah you need that skill set for sure.
when you are in the group classes and you're training, are you nervous about getting hurt? You're a bass player. You're nervous about hurting your hands. Or are you cautious about who you train with?
Not so much. You know, in a normal, um, you know, in a normal class setup, you know, almost everybody does that I've experienced so far. Marcus Suarez being the exception. You know, you get there, hi everybody, line up, bow in, warm up, drill technique, or learn a technique, drill a technique, and then on to live rolls. And I don't do live rolls when I'm on the road. That's my precaution. But the other thing is that I use the graps. Are you familiar with the
No.
graps?
What is
They
that?
keep your fingers organized.
No.
It's they have they have an online presence on Instagram. Graps. It's GRAPPZ or Z, as you were. They have been a game changer for my hands because I was always getting fingers peeled off or you know a thumb jammed up or whatever. These things, these graps make all the difference in the world and keep my hands safe so that I can, you know, at least I don't have to worry about that part. You know, my neck and shoulders and arms and legs and ankles is the same as everybody else, and that's okay. I just tap quickly. I'm not. If I were to, you know, I should. I don't usually do live rolls unless I can get somebody that I know and trust out there, and then I might flow roll or roll with them or do positional drills with them. But for the most part, I keep it low impact just because I don't want to come back to the arena and give everybody the bad news that we're all going home. You know,
Yeah. No,
that'd be
I was
dumb.
thinking about if you trained at my gym, who I would get you to roll with. And obviously, I would never let you roll with any new people.
Yeah,
I had new students in last night. And, great guys, young guys. But
of
new
course,
students
yes.
are
No, there's nothing wrong
wildly
with new students. It's just
unpredictable. Wildly
yes,
unpredictable.
and especially if they're strong, or if they're really strong and they lift a lot, or they're an athlete, they maybe a football player or something like that, or God forbid a wrestler. Oh my God, yeah, that's dynamite, right? Like you gotta really be careful with that. But you also, I think, and this is something that I'm learning is that you also gotta. I gotta learn that in the role, I can just put my hand on a guy's chest and go, you know what? We should stop. We should stop now. This isn't. I don't think this is good for me, and I'm gonna move on. I'm not scared to have that conversation with people. I have had that conversation with people where it's just like, yeah, I know, like I'll refuse a role not because necessarily out of fear, but more so out of intelligence and trying not to, become disabled for no reason, because generally speaking now, the way that my process has gone, I don't get hurt by other people anymore. I hurt me.
Yes.
So it's when I get into certain situations, I'll kind of go a little too hard maybe, and usually injure myself. So try to keep from hurting
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah. And I try to be cautious as a coach, kind of with the matchups in the room.
Yeah.
Like these two were here last night. They said, "Oh, can we roll together?" I said, "No, God, no. You can't roll
Yeah.
together."
That's just like basically saying two students
Yeah.
gone, because they're both going to injure themselves, and then you don't get to teach them
So
anymore.
I put them with more experienced
Mhm,
students, people that
mhm,
I know aren't going to hurt them, and people that are
mhm,
controlled.
mhm.
So I think, yeah, the higher that you go up the ladder in jiu-jitsu or belts or whatever, I feel like the more that you learn, it's like less about the submission and just more about the control aspect of
Mhm.
another person and also yourself.
Yeah, yeah. That's whenever if I'm in a role with a newer student, um, I often won't even attempt a submission. I'll let them work, and I'll work positionally, and I'll let them take me places, but I won't let them. In no-gi, it's very hard. It's very, very hard to pump the brakes in no-gi. That's what makes no-gi great, is that you can just, if you want, you can just go full tilt and basically just sprint until the other guy's tired, and then take them out. But in the uniform, that's where sometimes I get paired up at my school here with the big new guys, like really, really big, like the 300 pounders. I get those here. Um, but you just, like I say, in the uniform, you can slow it down, you can control them, you can talk to them while you're, and just explain where they are and how you can help them in the role, and not be. It's outrageous for somebody who is wearing a white belt and me to get on the mat, and I'm gonna try and kill this guy. Like, what? Who learned something there?
Yeah.
What do I learn is that a brand new guy is really easy to
Yeah.
choke out. And what does he learn? Rolling with an upper belt sucks, because he just kicked my ass and I didn't learn anything except how to tap. Like, I want to try to help them in their journey forward.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be a helpful person. I remember, especially when I started, having that experience a couple times too, rolling with higher belts and really just getting beat up.
Yeah.
And it was not an enjoyable experience. Like I like, rolling with higher belts and they tap you out and
Yeah.
like show you something that, they're
Right.
helping you learn, right? Those are the ones that motivate you to keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. For sure. And they're the good ones who, maybe midway through the roll, maybe at the end of the roll, they'll say, "Hey, listen, I noticed you got stuck in this position. Here's how you can help yourself get out of it." A lot of times in my classes here that I'm in, I have a couple. Everybody does it. You adopt a lower belt. I've got a few adopted lower belts, and I'm teaching them all how to kill me. I'm like, so when I had you just completely crushed in side control, and you couldn't move. Here, do this. And they're like, "You just showed me how to escape your dominant position." I was like, I did. I did. I did. I'm teaching you my own stuff. It's probably not the best idea, but it makes me better because then they can turn the mirror on me and use my escapes on myself.
Yeah,
You know, which maybe I should. You know, there is. I don't know if you know. You probably are familiar with this, but there's this idea that you don't tell students things that they can use on you, which is I don't get that. And the other thing is like you just there's this old school concept of you just let somebody struggle and struggle and struggle and struggle and don't tell them. You know, don't tell them. You know that you know the basic cues of escapes or avoiding some of these attacks. You don't tell them. You just let them jump into triangles until they, you know. And I'm like, I
yeah.
don't like that. It's
I feel
totally
like
stupid. You're
I've
wasting
had
so much time.
success. I've had success coaching because the total opposite. Because I am so like forthcoming with information and
Yeah,
showing things that like work for me, and like
yeah,
things I've watched online. I watched a lot of like Dana Herr and Gordon Ryan instructionals. I just absorb a lot of information.
yeah.
I have so many hours of watching that stuff, and I'll share it with my students. But I've definitely had coaches or experienced people that like they're really just not showing you what their best stuff or what they could be showing. And
Yeah.
I feel like it feels good to have a coach that will show you anything and roll with you and like, really have time for you. That's the coach that I want to be.
Yeah, and you know, like watching a white belt who isn't a new white belt, like a white belt that's been going for a year and a half, in the closed guard, just struggling away. It's just like, what? No, you should. 10 minutes.
Yeah. I feel like
You just give them
jiu-jitsu has
10 minutes.
evolved. Jiu-jitsu has evolved. So like the learning curve,
Yeah,
that should be a little bit faster
I
for people
agree.
that are doing jiu-jitsu now versus when I started in 2007. So it only makes sense. Like a lot of people in my position would probably be mad at that because they're like, oh, well, blue belts are so much better than I would have been as a blue belt.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
but I kind of played a part in that because like I was training and
Yeah.
helping people get better. I post all these fucking videos every day and stuff. So I feel like I'm trying to kind of push the culture forward of like information sharing. Like I'll show you
It's
whatever you
great.
want to know. It's just like
That's
maybe
great.
you use it as good as me, maybe not. But it's better to know it, I think, than have it as a tool in your toolbox.
I agree, man. I think the sharing of the information is the most important part of this whole thing, and helping each other and teaching each other. And if your peers get better, they bring you up with them.
Yeah,
So you're making yourself better by teaching your peers to get better.
yeah.
I don't know why you wouldn't do that.
I've had some of my most success in competition after I've started my own team. And sometimes people ask me like, do you train anywhere else? I said, no, I only train here with my students. I got a full schedule. I got
Hmm.
kids, I got a wife. I'm full-time here. And, it feels good when I win. Like, it feels like, I did this with my students. They're the people that I train with every day. So
Hmm.
yeah, like you said, we want to make them better because they're making me better.
Yeah. Yeah. We all lift each other up.
So, do you have a favorite grappler, someone like you really enjoy watching if you're going to watch some highlights or watch a match?
Yeah, yeah. There's a guy who, and he's my friend, so I'll qualify this with that. Um, his name's Travis Thomas. Are you familiar with him? The Mantis, 10th Planet Decatur.
Okay, okay.
He studies under BMAC, our man, and Travis Thomas is going to be something, and he's becoming something. He you know, Brandon told me the story of this guy. He originally was a cheerleader, high level cheerleader in college. And he just, I don't know what happened, but he came in and he's like, hey, what's this? Let's give this a try. His natural athleticism and his creativity is um, generational in nature. Yeah, if you look up the Mantis on Instagram, you'll see it, the creativity. I think is my favorite part of his game. Is he 10th Planet is already very
Oh,
creative
yeah.
and very outside the box thinking. He takes it to another level with pretty freaky athleticism. Yeah, he's awesome. I really like him a lot.
Nice. I'm gonna look them up. I love learning little
Oh
tidbits and new stuff.
yeah.
I love.
There's plenty. It's like drinking from a fire hose watching these guys' ideas. It's
Awesome.
cool.
Kind of shifting a little bit into like the music side. I had asked for any questions, and I got a good question from our friend Brian Byrne, who was the one that
Oh
connected.
yeah.
He said, "This is an interesting question. Does training jiu-jitsu influence how you think about or how you play music?"
um, I think that the it goes throughout. It's not just in music, but it's in all of life. I think it affects everything. I can, some of it I could recognize, and some of it I can't. I think that it changes the way you think about a lot of things, whether it's from how you get out of bed, to whatever. Like yeah, it changes the way I see the world entirely. So I guess it does change the way I think about music. I can't really elaborate how.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I would say, like, as someone that's a black belt and trained a lot too, like, it just kind of becomes an all-encompassing thing. It's hard to just narrow it down to one thing that, like, specifically how jiu-jitsu changes that for you, but it changes you a lot. Like, just kind of your perspective, like, hopefully, like, kind of calms you down, like, controls over yourself and your emotions. So yeah, I would say I get that answer. Yeah.
And the other thing is like I think before I started training jiu-jitsu that there was a lot of times when I would jump into conflict, um, when it was some like an unwinnable sort of, like, not that it was unwinnable, but that the win is actually meaningless, and that actually it's like you're just beating your head against the wall with something, and you're not going to change anybody's mind, or actions. And jiu-jitsu has taught me to let those things go, just like a submission that you don't have.
Yeah.
Well, why are you stop struggling to try to get the thing? It's gone. You don't have it. And that translates a lot into life in general, where you just realize sometimes you're using up yourself on something that doesn't matter.
Yeah, 100%. And good transition into, kind of comments, hate online and stuff. Obviously, Nickelback got a lot of hate back in the day. I just
Mm.
watched your Netflix documentary, and, it lined up perfectly, like the rise of Nickelback. You guys had a couple huge albums, everyone loved you. And then as social media got bigger, it became cool to kind of not like Nickelback and make fun of Nickelback. And, there's even
Yeah.
other famous bands putting Nickelback down. It's like I couldn't imagine as a black belt being like, fuck Nicky Ryan, like putting down a peer. Like, it's so not cool.
Yeah.
But like, and now as a black belt and someone that posts a lot of videos and stuff, I know it's like not near the same level. But I saw you in another interview that you did when I was doing my research. You talked about, how the more hate that Nickelback got, the more successful that you guys became. So it almost became like a good thing. And now I see that myself, like when I post a YouTube video, like, if it doesn't get any comments, it's kind of whatever, hit or miss.
Right.
But now if I see, I'll get an email comment, like it pops up, like, this is gay. I'm like, all right, this video's doing all right. It's
Right. Yeah.
like, it's almost a good thing. Like,
Yeah.
more people are seeing it. That means obviously more haters are going to see it. But like, I don't know, just like, what do you think about that? Like, just as like, it's just a thing with jiu-jitsu, with bands, like,
Well,
hate online.
yeah, like that is one thing about jiu-jitsu and the combat sports community. Man, there is a lot of people who really think they know a lot. And the trouble is it's the same thing with music, is that you can't tell the real ones from the casuals. You don't know. Like, unless it's like, oh, that's Gordon Ryan commenting on my post about a particular submission technique. You don't know who these people are. You don't know what they know, or if they know anything at all. A lot of times there are comments out them as knowing very little. And that's, you don't have to even respond to that. Anybody with any sense can look at that and go, okay, that is a casual and a fool. Yeah, so I'm not going to take that comment seriously. When it comes to music, I think it was also timing. As we came up, we were kind of, I like to say, we were kind of patient zero of cyberbullying. We were sort of like the first, I think, one of the first entities where it was just really cool to pour hate on us. But like I said, and like you know, as you alluded to earlier, the seemed to be a correlation with when we were at our like maximum hate level was when our career was the best. I don't know if the hate made the career better or if it was, you know, it's a chicken and egg kind of thing. But when the hate has started to slow down recently, I've gotten a little nervous. You know, it's like, you know, I feel like it's a trap, right? I feel like I'm being baited. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, yeah, it's and like, you know, it's interesting because like I find as my kind of following grows, obviously I'm very small, like I'm in Nova Scotia and stuff, but you know, I started out like all these, you know, hateful comments. I'd respond to every fucking one. You know I shouldn't,
Yeah.
but a lot of times I would. Like a lot of times trying to make a joke about it and stuff, like just carrying on. Like honestly, I don't really care. But then just like it just becomes too much. It's like now there's so many comments. It's like I'd
Yeah.
spend all my day responding to comments. It's like I can't deal with it, right? So yeah, I
No.
think it's like, you know, knowing that it doesn't matter, like, you know, random dude 135 doesn't know shit about jiu-jitsu and this pendulum or whatever that is, right? I'm a black belt, I know this stuff, and like just kind of believing in your heart, and you know, I think just doing what you love and just continuing to do it and just saying like forget the haters because they're going to be there for anybody.
Yeah, they are. And then when you look at the people at the highest levels and the hate directed at them, you know it's bullshit. You know the people that are coming at Gordon Ryan or coming at Craig Jones or it's like what the you're idiots. Like it's like okay, you know everybody's real smart, you know, but rarely do people do it in person. Number one, and number two, you can't take it seriously. You just can't. But like I said, any sane person with any sense can see when someone's trolling or when somebody doesn't know what they're talking about. You know, it's plainly obvious. And yeah, like I did a podcast just the day before yesterday with John McCarthy and Josh Thompson. You know Josh Thompson, the UFC fighter, and it was funny because it was almost like talking to. I felt like I was in marriage counseling at one point because you know Josh asked me if I read the comments, and I was like, "Fuck no," you know. And then I heard John go, "I told you. I've been telling you for years." You know, and Josh is like, I love it. You know, he's like, I love to get down in the shit with those guys. And John's like, you're wasting your time, man. It just makes you feel worse. Shouldn't do it. And I was like, I'm with John. And as I told Josh, I'll state the same. I have a mantra for this, and that is that you know you have to look at these comments that you're reading and ask yourself if any hater criticism in the comments has ever made your work product better. Because if it has, keep reading. Got a pretty good idea. The answer is no. That never helps. Nobody is ever constructive in there. So, my opinion, you ignore that. I mean, I had a little bit of fun. Like, I ran the Nickelback Twitter for I don't know 45 days. I took down a couple of people, but it was like I wanted to be like a troll slayer, you know. That was what my kind of I wanted to give myself the mantle of troll slayer. So anytime we got trolled by somebody, I couldn't go after the randos because again, like I say, you don't know who they are, so you don't know where their pressure points are, right? But I would go to people that I know who they are. You know, went after Schwarzenegger with one. I know what his pressure point is. Batman and Robin, the worst film he ever did. So I attacked that, and he's like, shit, you know, and he didn't like that. And you know, Royal Blood came at me or came at us, and I fucking carpet bombed them. And you know, it was like it's too easy. I did it for like I said, I did it for like a month and a half, and I was like, yawn, like this is anybody can do this.
Yeah.
You know, burning fools on the comment boards is I guess it was fun for a minute, but I just realized that it was sort of like meaningless. You know, I didn't change anybody's mind, and I didn't really fix anything.
Yeah, no, it's all good points. Yeah, it's a different perspective than I would have thought. It's interesting. And like, yeah, I will just use it for entertainment. Like I'll just share the comments on my story. And honestly, the comments that people will say about the comments, are more entertaining for me. And a lot of time it's people defending me, you know, like, oh, what is this idiot? No, I'm just like, no,
Right.
I know, I'm just sharing it for
Yeah.
entertainment, right? So it's more just to get a laugh. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just, I agree, it's not constructive if you're responding to them and even just reading them. But
But if you got
yeah, sometimes,
if you got time to, wallow around in that muck with those guys, then sure.
yeah, sometimes you get a few minutes. Um, okay, in music wise, you guys got a lot of songs. Do you have a favorite song that you like to play live?
I think that there is one song that's really started to move me over the years more and more, and I don't know why, but the song "Saving Me" has really kind of tugged at my heartstrings. Like, that's not supposed to. I played the thing like 10,000 times or more, but it's just really started to affect me recently. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting soft.
I think maybe you are. I saw an interesting story probably in the documentary on Netflix that you didn't want the first single to be "How You Remind Me." You like fought for it to be something else. Is that true? Story there.
Yeah. I want it to be "Never Again." I'm a I'm a hard rock guy at heart, so the introspective ballad was something I didn't want to lead with. But I didn't say it in the documentary, or maybe I don't think it got kept. But happy to be wrong, Josh. Happy to be
I
wrong.
bet. I
Like, got
bet.
me. I was way off on that one, and I'm glad they didn't listen to me.
Yeah. Good moment to be wrong for sure.
Yeah, great moment.
Someone submitted this question: do you have a favorite city to play in?
A favorite city. See, this is a question that I can kind of parry a little bit. Um, as far as a favorite city to play in, no. As far as a favorite city to be in, yes. That city for me is Tokyo by a mile. Uh, I love that town so much. But as far as playing, Nickelback fans are all the same. They're great, totally awesome people. Love them. I love it when they show up when we play, and we all have a good time with them, whether they're in Tokyo or Amsterdam or Toronto or Brazil or whatever. They're the best.
Hell yeah. Do you remember the first concert that you attended live?
Yeah, yes. I think it was the Metallica and Justice for All tour at the Calgary Saddle Dome. I think that was the first one. I think.
That
It
was
could have been Poison and Tesla prior to that, maybe, because we saw them numerous times. Poison took Tesla on the road many, many times, and we saw them. But yeah, it was big rock arena rock shows. Is what me and my brother saw first.
my first one. My dad took me to see Motley Crue.
Cool.
Yeah, it was
That's There you go. That's another one of the first for us. Was the Motley Crue.
Who were some of your favorite bands growing up?
We grew up. Chad and I both grew up with a steady diet of Metallica. Uh, my brother kind of didn't stay in the thrash world so much. I did, and so the big four was huge for me. The Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax, and the fourth one, which I can't remember now for the life of me, it's horrible. Oh, Megadeth. Shit. I knew it. Yeah, it was Megadeth. Yeah. That could have been bad. I'm glad I caught that one in time. Don't
We'll
nobody edit that.
cut that part out. Don't
Keep
worry.
keep the whole context. Fuck. Because what kind of metalhead am I if I forget about Megadeth? But anyway, that was the kind of stuff we were growing up with, like things like Testament and all that, and then I continued on to become more and more interested in heavier, harder music, and I still am. I'm listening to stuff now that I almost no one I know listens to the same music as me anymore because they can't stand it.
Obviously, a lot of people love Nickelback music, But have you ever been kind of starstruck meeting someone or like finding out someone is like into Nickelback? Like,
It's been more of a broad thing lately that's been really kind of funny because I have a real affinity for metalcore music, and a lot of the kids these metalcore bands, I've met them, and they've said, we all just want to sound like you guys on your Dark Horse album. Like that's basically the production angle that everybody wants to sound like you guys. I'm like, what? Why? And they just we just love the way it sounds. And it's like, okay, and that's more than a few too. Like it's not just one. It has been several that have told me this, and I couldn't be more humbled and flattered by that. So to hear that from that kind of odd part of the world, it's not like they're playing in Nickelback cover bands. This is very different stuff. So I like that when it comes from more diverse and sort of unexplored places by us. That these people are coming out with support for us. It's really awesome.
The person that I was thinking of is Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
And I'm a hockey guy too.
Okay.
And I know from podcasts, they say Connor McDavid fucking loves Nickelback.
Yeah.
And right now, Connor McDavid, obviously the NHL season is starting, and they have this series on Amazon Prime. So right now online, Connor McDavid, they're showing clips of him in the finals. They're losing. They're down 3-0. He's pissed in the locker room and stuff. But I was just thinking, man, he's probably listening to Nickelback on the way to Game 7 of the finals. That's fucking awesome. He's listening to your
stuff. Be listening to it right now. Yeah, he's a huge fan and supporter of us, and a good and dear friend to us. Really is, and he didn't have to. Again, he doesn't have to do this, right? He doesn't have to stand up for us when people are talking shit, and a lot of people, wouldn't admit to being a fan of our band when he was openly just fine with it and just like, I like their band, come at me, I don't give a fuck, and that, good. That's great. He's a great guy. He really, really is a great guy. He is obviously he's a generational talent. Like you don't see these come around very often, but he's just a really, really nice person. He's a good man, which, I've met a lot of generational talents that just weren't.
Yeah. No, he's a good old Canadian boy. So
He is a good man. He's a man of integrity and substance, and his word matters. And he's a man who does what he says and says what he does. You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't play around. He's got no time for that.
No, 100%. Yeah. No. So this has been awesome, man. It's been great to chat with you and learn a little bit more about you. And yeah, it'd be amazing to train with you sometime. Hopefully, Nickelback makes a stop in Halifax,
We're
Nova Scotia.
looking at something in Halifax right now, and you're on my hit list.
All right. Well, let me know for sure. I know you're a gi guy. I won't hold that against you. I still have a couple gis left, but
I'm trying to train half and half. Actually, I'm trying to do both. My 10th Planet friends are all telling me to put the pajamas away. But you know what? I really like the old school jiu-jitsu, man. I really enjoy the brutality, to be honest with you. Like these really gritty pins and positioning and grabs and grips and levers that old school jiu-jitsu is based on. I really dig that. The no gi stuff is cool. I like it too. I think for me, for my jiu-jitsu experience, I want to know them both. And I just went to my first class of whatever Kit Dale does. It's wrestling, it's judo, it's voodoo shit. But he's the teacher at Henzo Gracie on Tuesday evenings, and I went in and I didn't realize because I'm new to that school, and there's Kit Dale and he's going to teach the class, and we were working on this stuff I've never even seen before because most of the training I've done has started from the knees. It isn't starting from standing. I'm not a competitor. Right. So I don't, so this is, everything's on the feet. Everything is entry, engagement, takedown, whatever. And so I was just like, it was like my first day on planet Earth. Like I was so lost, sweating like crazy because I was thinking so hard and, just totally screwed up. And then I was like, I got to do this. I'm so underwater in this. I got to learn this stuff. And Kit is a fantastic instructor, man. He's really good.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed
I
being
even
taught
went
by
through a
him.
similar experience over the summer. We had a wrestling class. My
Oh,
student, Lucan, he's a wrestler, and he wrestles in university. He's an actual high-level
right.
wrestler. You know, I thought, you know, I'm a black belt. I know a couple takedowns. I can last a minute or two wrestling. But in actual wrestling, making us go under the rule set, it's a totally different game. It's so much more physical and
Yes.
aggressive. And honestly, I was terrible, awful, you know, in the beginning. But just like jiu-jitsu, you know, you got to just kind of
Of
keep
course.
putting the work in, keep putting the work in.
Of course.
And now, like, you know, I feel like I can actually wrestle maybe kind of half decent for a minute, you know? So just kind of building the skills. Now I know how to build the skills.
And that's exactly where I saw this glaring deficiency in my skill set when I was in this class, and luckily this first class of this wrestling slash judo, whatever it is, I don't even know exactly what it is, but I luckily got paired with a really 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 experienced guy, and so he was able to help me kind of fast track the techniques and the understanding of them, because there's so much in this that is like you do it this way, but I want to know what's the point, like why do we do it this way. Yeah, and this guy was happily, thank goodness, he was just so forthcoming to give me the information. And I tapped out of the class like 15 minutes before the class is over, and I was just like, I just said to the guy, I gotta stop now. And he said, "Oh, are you okay? What's wrong? Are you hurt?" And I said, "No, I got no more room. I'm full.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm not learning anything anymore."
Yeah.
I was like, I don't have any more room in the hard drive for this shit. I gotta go home and sleep on this for a week and come back, because he only teaches once a week. So by the time I've had enough, the neuroplasticity exercises that happen when you're sleeping or in the shower or whatever, when your brain's still defragging itself, and that has to happen to me a few more times before I'm going to have cleared up enough sectors to be able to go back and learn that stuff again. But that's the name of the game, right? You get in there and you realize, oh my God, I don't know how to do this. I need to know how to do this. And so you dig in and you learn.
Yeah, 100%. Except for me for the wrestling class. It almost fucking killed my gym. It was so hard, all the guys didn't want to do it.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll tell you a funny story. Because I have a funny story for this. Josh Koscheck is my friend, and Josh Koscheck is a NCAA All-American champion. Like wrestler. The guy's wrestling is off the charts. And at one point, while I was training at that school on Maui, he came over to visit me, and I asked him if he would be willing to teach a seminar at the school. And Christian, the professor who owns the gym, said, "Yeah, great, Josh is fantastic, combat sports guy. Everybody would just like to meet him, but yeah, we'll do a seminar." And I was injured at the time, so I didn't participate, thank God. Now, but I dropped them off at the school, introduced him to professor, and then he met all the there's like, I think 15 or 20 seminar students there. And he's like, "Okay, see you later." And he goes, "Yeah, just come back in about 2 hours, and we'll be done in about 2 hours." And I just went and did. I had some errands to run and some regular life shit to do. And I came back, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. This is the fucking one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I roll up to the school, and I open the door, and I look. The entire class is laid out on the mats, like roadkill. And Josh is just standing in the middle of the classroom with a sweaty t-shirt going, "Okay, we're done." It's like, "What did you do to them?" And he said, "Oh, they got a really good workout." And I just hear like, "Oh, no." Like they weren't moving, man. Like nobody even sat up. So yeah, that's the wrestler, right?
Everybody. Yeah. Just a different level of fitness and
Oh,
character. Yeah.
it's a different level of everything, man. I wish I had experienced it and had exposure to it in school. We didn't have that. We didn't have anything for that matter, in my school, as far as sports go.
Yeah, no, but it's cool that you can kind of sprinkle in these techniques now. I find for me with my students, like, 90% of what I teach is on the ground, but it's good to throw in some stand up every once in a while. And I like what you said about self defense too, because I try to bring it back to that too. Even in the kids
Great,
class, I try to
great,
talk
yeah.
about self defense, because if you need to use jujitsu, it's probably going to be in a self-defense situation. So it's good to have a little bit of knowledge about
That's
that.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, awesome, man. I can't wait until we're able to get on the mats together and train. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And yeah, thanks so much for chatting with me this afternoon or this morning, whatever it is.
It's afternoon now.
Yeah, yeah. And right on. Thanks a lot, Mike.
Thanks, man.
Been a pleasure.
Thanks. Nice to talk to you.
Awesome, man. Well, have a great night.
Thanks, man.